Bootstrapped Unicorns, we are back, and we are back because it's an off week, and so I'm going to do a quick solo cast here and explain what's going on, because I think you're going to be really interested in this for a lot of really cool reasons, but I'm going to foreshadow that you are going to learn something about how we operate our business that I think is going to change the way you think about videos, about podcasting, about business development, and maybe about how you're operating in your own sales and business development. Okay, here we go. So the off week this week, I call it an off week. This is a short episode, and we're doing it in between some great interviews because I filmed so many of them that the team was actually getting a little overwhelmed with all of our client work. So, you know, I don't talk a ton about C47 on Bootstrapped Unicorns. Maybe I should a little bit more, but I want to tell you exactly what we're doing here because it's going to affect the way you operate. So we at C47 Digital Studios, we used to be known as C47 Films. We're kind of in the middle of this rebrand as Digital Studios. What we do here is video-based podcasting, but the reason why we do it isn't because we're building a network, and some people think we are. It isn't for social media reasons, though there's an effect on social media that we are not in this for the social media game. We're not in it because, though I love podcasting, I mean, I listen to so many podcasts. Don't mistake this as me knocking podcasts, but we're not in it for podcasting. And we're not in it for being YouTubers, even though there's massive power in YouTubing. We believe in it. We are in this for business development exclusively. That is the point of the whole dang thing. And our clients are as well. And we've had so many clients doing so many cool active things that we decided to make sure all of our resources were going to who's paying our bills. And that's a great problem to have. And so we slowed down because I had filmed so many episodes and decided to start getting a little bit ahead. So it gives our team a little breather room on our own marketing efforts in order to allow us to make sure that, well, one, we're fulfilling our promises for our customers. Customers are always first. But then two, just to make sure that we're doing the right things for ourselves so we don't feel overwhelmed. Let's go back, though, to the whole point of this. Business development is the whole key. I just saw a little floaty flying by my face here. You couldn't see it on camera, but I felt compelled to grab it. That was different, wasn't it? So I did something years ago with a group of people. We founded something called Carlson Cowork. I'm going to tell you a story about what happened in a term that we created that now is exactly what we do here in a whole new way. So Carlson Cowork was a co-working facility. I loved those days. I needed an office. A whole bunch of my peers needed offices. We met with friends of mine. So Jim Goff, who at that time was the CEO and president of Landsman Development, and Kurt Ziemendorf, who was the vice president of commercial properties. And they brought us to this old 850,000 square foot building, massive, mostly one floor, formerly the Carlson Stromberg manufacturing plant. What used to be in there, they would make radios, military radios, so radios the way you would think of, military radios, and then coil springs for military jeeps. This is going back to the World Wars, and then bed springs. That's all they made there. It was a fascinating grouping of things they made. And then eventually they were no longer needed, and that building changed hands. It was Kodak, it was Harris, it was all these different things. And at the point we found it, it had been empty for a very long time. So we took a 9,000 square foot space of what used to be their executive offices. It looked like an old Mad Men set. And we turned it into a co-work. And at its peak, we had 75 small businesses in there. And fast forwarding the story a little bit, the experiment in that co-work went so well that the neighborhood started to turn over and change. It was kind of a rough neighborhood. There was not a lot of commerce happening in that building. Again, took up an entire street, and it was generally empty. And what we ended up finding is that after we established and built and had enough of a presence, there was a company that invested towards the end of the building and actually became what's called Radio Social. Radio Social is this bowling alley and restaurant concept that is so brilliant. They're so cool, and I love going there. And it was great once they were open for us to go and hang out there and then come back to the office, the co-work. And then eventually a comedy club moved in, and it was just great. And so Mark Ippolito, hey man, so cool to have Carlson comedy there, or comedy at Carlson. And we kind of were the trendsetters for that neighborhood by moving the co-work in there and building a co-work that never existed. The reason why I bring the co-work up is there were 75 businesses in there that met Friday mornings, not all of them, but most of us, and we did a roundtable discussion to work together to grow our businesses. And Jim, the CEO, and Kurt, the VP at the time, would come in And they were very well heeled in business. They kind of became our mentors, and we had this like business accelerator incubator thing going on, and Jim called it a Hippie Capitalist Love Fest. And I love that because we were there for each other. We were there for our own businesses. We found ways to integrate and work with each other on so many levels. And it really was kind of this capitalist commune. Fascinating, right? The relationship building and the presence that we had with each other mattered. It was my best lesson in business development I could ever possibly have. And I spent 5 years there before eventually my family, we moved here to Central Florida. And I supplemented some of the loss of Carlson Cowork as a regular thing, because I was 1,300 miles away, with being in a BNI group, which is a great way of getting a referral partner network going. And I still believe in that. And if you're not in a BNI, maybe you should be. So that was kind of a business development, journey for me. And then I come to this realization during the pandemic that it's very hard. One, the industry had changed for us. We used to make video, now you got to make videos. Now we got to make tons of videos in order to kind of keep up with the social media Joneses. And everything rolls over and changes really fast. But what doesn't change is the need for relationship and business development. During the pandemic, all of this remote filmmaking started happening on Zoom and on Riverside and on OpenReel and all these different platforms. And people were kind of figuring it out. And that really ended up creating the space for us to come up with this notion that we ought to be doing, my company does retainer services for video-based podcasting now, but we're not having people come in for the sake of doing shows. We're not having people come in for the sake of doing shows that turn into social media. Our very clear business proposition, our value in the marketplace is we are absolutely crystal clear that guests on shows who are high-value referral partners, high-value client targets, and high-value vendor partners are the business development relationships that matter. Think about asking somebody to be on a show. When I call somebody and say, hey, I want you to be on Bootstrapped Unicorns, I'm saying, I think you're important and you have an important story. I build them up. I tell them you're great. And it's always true. It's completely awful and disingenuous to say anything other than the truth. And so I tell them the truth about them and who I see them as and how important they are. And it's very hard to get a no. I actually got a no today for the first time, and this person's just super camera shy, and I respect it. But most of the time, I get yes, because people want to tell their story and they want to drive value. And I believe that the guests we have on for the conversation we're having does benefit our end audience, and we're not selling. So there. And so I get to say, hey, you're important. Hey, you have value. Hey, I'm going to remind you that when you come on the show, you're going to talk about your importance and your value. And I'm going to guide you through it. It's going to be a great experience. And come into this pretty nice office, right? We got the 2 studios, got the pool table, we got the the nice bar set up. It's pretty comfortable to come in. And then we have this great conversation that really is reminiscent of my old days in Carlson Cowork and those roundtables. It's this Hippie Capitalist Love Fest. It's this capitalist commune that we have where we get to build a relationship and great rapport. And that night after the episode, I'm texting, you did awesome, unless you didn't do awesome, and then I'm maybe coaching. I haven't had that happen yet. Everybody does a great job. And so I'm just building them up even more, and then we send them the files. This is where we start getting into the social media side of things. They can actually have either the full raw files, the edited files, the cut up files from the main edit, anything and everything that this person wants who is a guest. They can have it and use it in their social media. And on a handshake, I say, hey, please tag me. And so I might get some social growth. They might get some social growth. Great. But we did build that great relationship. And that's the important part. Think about every golf outing you've gone to. It's hard to remember them, frankly, right? There's too many of those. Think about every steak dinner you've had with a potential either client or maybe you're the target client. Yeah, I can't tell you how many coffees I've had. I want to believe they have value. And if you've got a really good follow-up system, maybe they do, but what's more remarkable? Another meal or being on somebody's show? And having that show show up how many times on the internet, in how many ways? And how many touch points where you get honest compliments and great feedback? It's a different animal. So we're selling business development. Every guest you've seen on my show has value in my world in some way, and I keep up with them as best I can. If you ever have a show, and I hope you do, you need to have a show with the mindset that there's a strategy that will drive great value. Your strategy could have an empty chair or empty chairs that you fill with great people that will be great in your world. I think that's a good plan. You should also have a CRM and good follow-ups because you have a business development package. And I have empty chairs over here, which is why my hands keep going over here. But you've got a business development package in mind to grow what you're doing. And then you can solve that social media problem that we all have. You might think I like social media. I don't. I'm on it as little as I can be right now. I do scroll a little bit. We have family, we have friends, and I do go to LinkedIn to learn a little bit about business and explore. But one of the things that's so toxic in social media, and I know you're going to hear me, is that somebody's going to say something politically political, and it's going to politically incite something political about something political, and I'm done. I don't want to spend time with that anymore. I want to spend time with people building relationships. But I do get excited about releasing this show because it's not political, and I do believe it helps other entrepreneurs, my show specifically, because it's all about entrepreneurship, be a little bit better in their journey, maybe get a little inspiration, maybe get a little solace that maybe you are doing it right. Or if something's going wrong, maybe you get an idea. There's a whole bunch of really good what ifs and maybes from our show. So I'm pretty proud to release this content, no matter how many people listen to it, because somebody might have a better day or get better at their business. And businesses employ people, and families eat, and kids go off to college, and all of these things happen because money's flowing. If I get to be a part of that, that's something good. And so I'm really not big on the social media game per se. If I ever turn into an actual influencer, I'll accept it as a challenge to maybe go help people. It's just not the goal. The goal is to grow my business when I do my show. In the process of helping you grow your business with great tactical and entrepreneurial something, right? That can give you that leg up today that you didn't have yesterday. And that feels good and it feels right. So I'm growing my business, it feels right, and hopefully I'm growing your business, but also maybe this new idea that you're listening to right now can help you grow your business, because maybe you can go start a show. Are you gonna hire C47? I hope so. But the truth is, you can probably figure this out on your own if that's what you want. Now, our studio is in partnership with one of our client partners. We're literally in their building now. And the reason why is they were almost gonna start a show. And they were like, you know what? You guys have got this figured out. We really need you to do this for us. And we have space. Would you like to partner with us? We'd like to partner with you. Done. Done. It was a no-brainer, and what a great partnership we have with Coastal. But they were cool enough to recognize that they shouldn't be in the execution process of creating a podcast. They need to stay experts in what they're doing, do invite the right people on their shows, and stay expert in their conversation point. And we can help them. You know, I've been in entertainment my whole life, so we can definitely help them with the entertaining value and also the advertising value, which I've been in for 25 years roughly. We offer great value on that side of things, but they just knew they shouldn't get into the tech side. They shouldn't get into the implementation side. They should just be the experts they are. And boy, working, solid. It's great. So I don't know that everybody ought to go on their own podcasting journey. I think you should probably find whoever can do it with you and for you as much as you can muster and have them do it. We could be that people. We could be your resource for that. I kind of hope you'll call me and reach out on social, whatever, and say hello and find out a little bit more about how we might be able to handle that for you. And remember, you can do it remote and you can do it in person. There's ways to solve this in a million different ways. I love when people come into our studio. I like to see people in person, but sometimes it's just not possible. And we have tons of people remote into my show, and you can do an all remote show. It's all on the table. But the bottom line is you can do a show, but your strategy, I just laid it out for you. Your guests participate in a Hippie Capitalist Love Fest. That's the plan. That's the business development. And I promise you, it works. So this was an off episode of Bootstrapped Unicorns. We're doing this because, again, I was giving the team some breadth, and I actually like doing solo casts every once in a while. So I'm Josh Pies. I'm the host of Bootstrapped Unicorns. If you can't tell, I am absolutely passionate about entrepreneurship, business development, strategy around business development. I'm very passionate about your business. I want you to succeed. The reason why I want you to succeed is I see how it changes the world when we employ people well and grow our business in a way where we can serve other businesses well, when we serve each other well, as a whole construct, as a social construct, our society can thrive. You heard me rant about the politics side of things. I believe more of us are on the same page about wanting our families and our personal lives to grow and thrive in reasonably positive ways than anything else. And so I think we're actually closer to being on the same page than all of the political vitriol would have us believe. And so I'm on the same page with you that you should live a good life. Your employees and your peers should live a good life. And this is one way to support that. A quality Hippie Capitalist Love Fest business development plan through video podcasting can support that in all of the great ways. You've been watching Bootstrapped Unicorns. You're listening to Bootstrapped Unicorns. I'm Josh Pies. I'm Chief Hippie Capitalist. And I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Hey Miller, I think I'm going to adopt, I've been chief attention getter for a while. I think I'm going to be the chief hippie capitalist. I'm going to have to say it 5 times fast to see if I can do it. Yep. It's my new mantra, brother. I kind of like it.